The vast sums of corporate and billionaire money in our political system, with or without Trump, are why ordinary people are so ill-served by elected officials and by Congress. We need to take up that mantle and run with it. And if we don't solve this problem, even once we put Trump back in the box in the midterms and once he's gone, the country will still be in deep trouble. The American people understand that the system really is rigged. I think that what we have to acknowledge is that the corruption.
You mentioned the corruption of this whole thing.
Yeah.
I think it's the most undercovered story of the administration is the corruption that's happening in plain sight. I mean, some of it's not in plain sight. We heard about Tom Homan getting the border czar, getting a kava bag with like 50 grand in it.
Who among us?
You never just like done one of these? Apparently he was going to get 50 grand in exchange for government contracts. Then every time Trump goes on a foreign trip, Don Jr. or Eric follows behind, right? And they announce $1 billion real estate deal. We got a golf course in Vietnam. We got a tower in Dubai, whatever. And then for me, it's like the crypto is the main event. There was this big New York Times story the other day that alleged it's basically a quid pro quo between the Trump organization, the Trump family, and the United Arab Emirates, in which this Emirati-linked investment company put $2 billion into Trump's crypto company. And then shortly after, the administration agreed to sell the Emiratis very advanced AI chips, like a huge national security consideration was at play. How do you think we can get people to notice and care about this stuff? Because I feel like when I try to tell people in my life who are just kind of like normie voters, they're like, all politicians are corrupt. They all do this kind of thing. They throw some Hunter Biden line at me. And then what can Congress do about it if we actually win the midterms?
So a few thoughts on the corruption. First of all, I think we have to absolutely hammer away at it and make sure that the public sees it and understands it, because it is like the most shocking, brazen, and overt abuse of power in presidential history by degrees of magnitude. We're talking about billions of dollars, a lot of it through cryptocurrency vehicles directly to the first family. And he's got his personal envoy, right? Like his sort of roving diplomat, Steve Witkoff, who, by the way, the wars that they promised to end are still raging, whose son is doing business with the Trump boys in this World Liberty Financial vehicle that foreign sovereign wealth funds are pouring billions of dollars into. You know, there is good reason to believe that they are shaping American grand strategy around the personal financial interests of the first family. And the hypocrisy is stunning. Like one of the things I said at a rally a few months ago was like, Hunter Biden should have been more ambitious. Like, this is an insane level of corruption and self-enrichment. But I think there's a deeper story here about corruption in American politics, which is something the Democratic Party needs to focus on, which is that Trump, in my view, is a symptom of the deeper corruption in our politics. Like, how is it that we have a demagogue who promises to tear it all down, elected twice to the presidency? It's in part because much of the American public has lost faith in our political system.
Totally agree.
And with just cause. Since Citizens United, this political system has been corruption on steroids. And that is a big part of why policy doesn't serve ordinary people. So as Trump poses this sort of radical threat to the rule of law and the Constitution, things that we have to protect, we can't just become mere guardians of the status quo. We have to be about change and reform. And money in politics is like the root of all of this. We have to focus on that. You know, the vast sums of corporate and billionaire money in our political system, with or without Trump, are why ordinary people are so ill-served by elected officials and by Congress. We need to take up that mantle and run with it. And if we don't solve this problem, even once we put Trump back in the box in the midterms and once he's gone, the country will still be in deep trouble.
So look, I totally agree with you. I worked for Barack Obama in the Senate in 2006, and there was this big scandal for the old heads out there. You might remember Jack Abramoff, who was this sketchy lobbyist who was, giving people boxes at, football games and stuff. It was a deep corrupt scandal. And so Democrats ran hard on a reform agenda in the 2006 midterms and did incredibly well. And Barack Obama was kind of out front of that. And so I totally agree with you. I've seen both the necessity of it, right? I agree that money is kind of the original sin for a lot of our political problems, but also the political upside of it. I guess the question is, what does that reform agenda look like? Is it no PAC money, no lobbyist money? Are we talking about stock trading from members of Congress? Like, how are you thinking about what that
all
is?
of these things and more. I mean, I have been championing legislation to ban members of Congress from trading stock. My campaigns have not taken contributions from corporate PACs or from federal lobbyists. I've introduced a bill to ban corporate PACs. The American people understand that the system really is rigged. But Trump is not unrigging it. He's re-rigging it for himself and his personal financial interest and his family's financial interest. So, we have to be about change and recognize that the public's complaints are legit. This isn't working for people, and we have better solutions.
And it's so hard, right? Because some of this is it feels like a financial arms race. Like we need to make sure we're raising as much as they are. Now, every candidate has a super PAC. We're spending billions in presidential elections. And I think there's a concern. I mean, you see it with redistricting too, right? Like Trump's doing this mid-year redistricting in Texas. So Democrats are fighting fire with fire in California. I think that's the right thing to do. But I do worry it kind of muddies up our efforts at being the reform party.
Yeah, I hear that concern. I mean, I think that what we have to acknowledge is that the corruption is bipartisan, right? The whole Congress is captured by big money. And people want to hear that we recognize that because it's true, right? And so
and obvious.
And obvious. And like you take something like taxes on the ultra rich. It's almost like an 80-20 issue in public opinion, right? But everyone knows that the reason that it never happens is because of the financial power and therefore the political power of super wealthy people, regardless of who's in charge.
Right.
So, we have to focus on, not exclusively, but we have to make sure people are aware that Donald Trump, his administration, are engaged in some of the most brazen and overt corruption. It's happening in the world right now, right? I mean, they're operating like some of the most shameless foreign leaders who mix state business with family wealth and personal business. But we also have to get at the underlying corruption in American politics.